COVID came around, everybody was like, I thought we had a plan. In Ontario, they had a SARS plan that they ripped up and they moved on because they thought it wouldn't happen again. But this maybe, I hate to say, is the new norm. But when she says, where's the government is doing all they can.
As of today, there are 2,293 wildfires that have occurred in Canada. Approximately 3.8 million hectares have been burned. And across the country, as of today, there are 414 wildfires burning.
And what are the results of that? Kelsey McEwen was on earlier today. She's a meteorologist for CTV, and she was talking to Vashi Kapelos of what it means, because Toronto has 7 when it comes to air quality, and Ottawa has a 10.
Yeah, so that means it's about as bad as it can get. It means that if you are a child, if you're a senior, if you're pregnant, if you work outside, if you have to do any exercise outside, gosh, if you even have just reactive airways, if you have asthma or you get extended coughs every time you get sick and your airways get all stressed out, you're going to be impacted by this. It means if you run a soccer team or a baseball team or any outdoor sporting activity, you absolutely should be rescheduling, because
so we've seen a lot of that, baseball, soccer, rescheduling. The Dome is closed in Toronto for the baseball game tonight. But Kelsey McEwen tells us about these small little particulates.
Now these particles that come from wildfire smoke, they're tiny, and when you breathe them in, they get deep down into your lungs, and the science shows that there's a lasting effect of that.
And we asked Dr. Mitch about what that science actually says.
We have a lot of studies over the years showing that the particulate matter, whether it was the diesel exhaust from buses in the day or from smoke coming from fires, wildfires in our forests and everything, that particulate matter, when it gets into your lungs, is particularly bad for you. These are very, very tiny particles. You just see them as a basic haze. You may not even see it. And when they get into your lungs, not only do they damage your lungs themselves and make it more difficult for you to breathe, but they're so small they get absorbed into the circulation. And so we've seen in studies of people living near highways or living near fires or post-Fort McMurray, after those horrible wildfires that were there a few years ago, there was an increased risk of brain tumors, increased risk of all sorts of different cancer, as well as heart attacks and strokes.
So what should you be doing? Here is Dr. Mitch on whether or not, well, you know, a lot of this stuff I think you've probably heard by now. You shouldn't be going outside if you don't need to go outside. You should be recycling air in your home and in your car. When you get in there, should you be wearing a mask?
And so the question you have to ask yourself is, should we be wearing masks when we're exposed to this type of, I'll call it air pollution, but it's even more nefarious than that. If you look at what's been happening in countries in Southeast Asia, Thailand being the perfect example, their air quality has been miserable over the years. And the use of specifically N95 masks, remember those? Yes. Have been particularly useful in protecting people from
think about that. I know I saw a lot of people with that earlier today, but back to meteorologist Kelsey McEwen on will things get better tomorrow?
So if you're in Ottawa, by the time you hit Friday, there might be improvement. There's a bit of shower activity in the forecast as well, and that'll help. It'll help wash out that lower atmosphere. If you are further west, if you're east of Georgian Bay, if you're in Barrie, Toronto, Hamilton, Niagara, London, your air quality will continue to get worse over the next
We'll mention and talk about that on the rundown that is next on the Iheart Talk Radio Network.
Time for News Talk 1010 Time Saver Traffic.
One new problem on the 401, eastbound collector to Victoria Park. We have a stalled vehicle blocking the right lane. We also...
Hey, this is Mike Cricket 113. That was shortwave radio 6.070 AM in Canada. Just wanted to tell you guys out there, shortwave listeners, I'm sure you're probably listening in as well. Mike Cricket 113, stay safe out there and stay indoors.